So thank you very much for attending today. It was just last November when you were with us and reflecting on benefits for people with long-term health and disabilities. You talked about genuine engagement and not being led by cuts. And then in March, the paper's published with our consultation with the highest level of cuts for the last 10 years. What engagement was done before that? What were the key drivers? What happened between those times to actually it appears abandonment of those core principles that you had in November to March? What went wrong?
You forgive me for not agreeing with the characterisation that you put forward. I've never started with pound signs or spreadsheets. I've always started with what I believe can help people with long-term health conditions and disabled people build a better life for themselves. And our reforms are based on helping those who can work to do so instead of writing them off and then denying them any support. And protecting those.
That's what really worries me. Is the whole of thing.
If I can just finish answering your understandable
PIP
question.
is not to do with work.
I'm fully aware that it is.
It's this situation where there's all throughout this narrative, it's been suggested that PIP is an out-of-work benefit, where it's an in-work benefit.
I've never suggested that.
I think you've given that impression when responding to myself and colleagues in the chamber.
I have never believed it because it's not true, and that is not the argument I made. The argument I did make was that we need to make sure that this absolutely crucial benefit is sustainable for the future, and that a doubling of the number of people on PIP over the last decade, if that were to continue into the future, that my real concern is that the benefit, which is absolutely vital for people, won't continue in future. Now, where we've ended up, I think, is a good position where we will make sure that we work with disabled people, the organisations that represent them, to take a really good long-term look at this benefit, to make sure it really is there for those who need it, and that it reflects, as you will have seen in the terms of reference for the so-called TIMS review, that it actually genuinely is there for people who need it in future and takes into account the big changes that we've seen in disability, in society, in the world of work since PIP came into place over a decade ago. I think that's a really important review, and I hope to engage, and I'm absolutely sure we will, all members on this committee.
So can you please explain, and I'm speaking as somebody who's registered blind themselves, why did you choose not to consult on that element of change that you were pushing forward in March?
Because it was going through at the time, in primary legislation, and we were consulting, obviously, with Parliament about that. And I actually do not agree that the paper as a whole, the Pathways to Work Green Paper, somehow lacked consultation with disabled people. We've got 5 collaboration committees along many different aspects of that Green Paper, on employment support, on de-risking work and the right to try.
On the PIP, you didn't consult, is that right? There was no consultation on the cuts.
Well, there was with Parliament, and Parliament took a different view.
But you said in November that you wanted to consult with disabled people, and then it comes to the biggest cut in a decade. But not on that. And can you explain why you chose? Can you explain why you chose not to at that time?
Because
what was your thoughts behind that?
We were passing it through Parliament.
Why did you ignore disabled people, please?
Well, I have answered that question. You might not like the answer, but the answer is because we were consulting with Parliament. Parliament took a different view, and now going forward.
That's not disabled people. And why did you ignore disabled people then?
Well, we are not ignoring disabled people. They will be at the heart of the TIMS review.
But you ignored them in March. Can you explain why?
We did not ignore. In fact, you
chose not to consult.
The very day after we published the Green Paper, myself and Stephen Timms, in the next couple of days, had roundtables with disabled people and the organisations that represent us. So we will just have to agree to disagree on this. I do not believe that we have failed to consult disabled people on the Pathways to Work Green Paper, and going forward, we are going to be co-producing the review of PIP in the longer term.